We have several breaking news stories about Tesla today. First, protests, arson, and violence against Tesla are ramping up and getting out of control. Last night, several Cybertrucks were attacked near downtown Seattle. Elon Musk believes ActBlue-funded groups were responsible for Tesla takedown protests. What should Tesla do to nip these in the bud? Second, Tesla held official delivery events for the new Model Y at their factories in Texas and Germany this weekend. Tesla executives were on site. Third, Tesla Vice President of Autonomy, Ashok Swami, made a couple of comments about the progress of autonomy. We'll watch several new videos coming out of China, showing how Chinese Tesla owners are excited to see how great full self-driving is performing, even now seemingly recognizing traffic officers' hand signals. Finally, we'll watch Tom Lee of Fundstrat, who says despite Tesla stock falling, its fundamentals have not changed, and in fact, it's strengthened. We got Jeff Lutz here. He's the ex-CVP of Supply Chain and Chief Quality Officer. He's now CEO of his own supply chain consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a very important things are happening this weekend. The protests, the violence seems to have really ramped up here. We've got, just last night here in Seattle, where I live, late Sunday evening, fire crews battled flames shooting out of several Tesla Cybertrucks in Seattle's Soto neighborhood. The cause remains under investigation. Clearly, it looks like it's arson. And I'll play that video. And Elon replies saying this is crazy. So at least he is aware that these things are happening. And I'll just play this really quickly.
Tesla Cybertruck is on fire. All right. There's a fleet of Cybertrucks right now. Unbelievable. Seattle fire on the scene.
So you got to get off the
breaking news. I'm sorry?
Okay. I'll pause it there. I'll keep letting it play. But Jeff, that's just one example of what's happening. Is this out of control? What do you think should we do about it?
Yeah, and in this show, we talk about a lot about, and we will talk about the fundamentals of the company and the business itself. You can put the stock price to the side for a minute. What's going on in terms of this violence and vandalism? You've got Tesla stores, you've got Tesla products pre-sales, you have customer vehicles of people who own Teslas being vandalized. Obviously, this arson at the Tesla stores is a big deal. And I would say a couple of things. One is, what you see on, I'll kind of play a little bit of both sides of this. What you see online is tends to be an amplification of what's happening in real life. Tesla has 1,500 stores, and they're not all they're not all having these protests, they're not all having these issues. These protest groups are targeted. They're picking these particular stores, and then they're coming out and having a showing. And by the way, I'm an advocate of peaceful protest. If you've got a message that needs to be delivered, that's within our laws of our country. You should be able to do that. You should be able to do it peacefully. But it looks like what's happening here is, if you look at the signs in these protests, if you look at, they're even interviewing people that say they're saying that they're being paid to be at these protests. The exact replica signs are appearing in multiple cities within a few hours of each other. And then we found all the online websites. We'll probably go through a couple of them quickly in a minute. But this is being centrally organized. So I think in discussing this in terms of action versus kind of a woe is me kind of thing. And again, I'm not inside of Tesla. I'm not smarter than Tesla management. I'm sure that they're taking significant actions. But I mean, it's just obvious that obviously the stores, the assets, the employees, and of course customers, they need some form of protection. It looks like there is now organized retaliation based, and if you read all the signs, they're all connected. They're not connected to Tesla, accelerating full self-driving. They're not connected to the new Model Y. It's connected to the political activities, and by the way, which I support in terms of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, and trying to solve our budget deficit issue. I think Elon is uniquely capable of doing that. There may not be many people capable of actually doing that, but now we have a situation. Now we have, the assets of the company are under attack. So there need to be significant, I would say, outward efforts shown to protect customers, to elevate these crimes. Again, if he's a special government employee and there are now targeted, coordinated, nationwide acts of vandalism, well, then these could be, if I'm not a lawyer, but consult a lawyer, talk to a lawyer, these could easily be elevated to domestic terrorism. And I think that would actually help in terms of the severity of these crimes as people are being caught. I think if the punishment is a little bit more severe, people will be less flippant about going into Tesla places of business and either putting employees or putting the product at risk, or actually causing acts of violence and vandalism. I mean, unfortunately right now, I believe nobody has been seriously injured, but we could be, within hours or days of that happening, and that would be very unfortunate. That potentially there could be more things that could be done in terms of the punitive damages involved of actually inflicting these events. There could be a lot more that potentially that could be done and be done quickly. So I hope Tesla's working with authorities. This isn't about lawsuits and personal lawsuits against people once they're found. We need, this appears to be attached to political violence, and we need those protections most likely. So again, I'm not smarter than Tesla. I'm sure that there's work being done to protect employees. I'm sure there's work being done, protect the sites and facilities where the vehicles are being sold, protect consumers as they're going in to make purchases and try the vehicle, protect consumers that actually own vehicles. And again, the stuff you see online is typically amplified. There's even stuff being posted yesterday. There's a Women's Day march in Chicago, and it's just a general, resistance kind of march. There's no problem with that. There's no problem with protesting. There's many great causes to protest. I don't have a problem with it. But it was immediately tagged as like a Tesla specific event, and that's not the case. And in fact, the Tesla stores in Chicago were well protected and in great shape. So again, these are isolated, but the frequency is increasing, and I would say the severity is above what should be acceptable in terms of literally setting vehicles on fire, and then even shots being fired at stores. So I believe, again, just in summary, need to protect the assets, need to protect employees, need to protect consumers purchasing vehicles and owning vehicles, and also protect the brand too. So I think nipping this early, in my opinion, there's two approaches, and it's fine. People can debate it. It's fine. This is an opinion. There's two approaches. You can be laissez-faire. You can be hands-off, and you can say like everything, like a statement on Twitter or something last year that got people roused up. That it'll pass. And I was in that camp. But for this, it appears that Elon's involvement in government is going to be. It's not a few week thing. It's going to be for an extended period of time, and if that's going to occur for an extended period of time, it's not clear that we've necessarily reached the peak of what's happening here. So nobody knows. So why allow it? So why not get a little bit more overtly in front of this? And again, the work for this may be happening in the background, and we're not just aware of it. But hopefully, there's going to be very, very overt, terse action, protect assets, protect people, and protect the brand as much as possible.
Yeah. The problem is that this has now become violent. And like you said, protests are good. They're fine. You should be able to do this. But when it gets to violence and shooting up stores, arson, there's going to be people killed. You got to address this. And then is this going to become a permanent or long-term impact to Tesla, the brand? And I agree with everything you're saying. Tesla needs to do something. We're hoping that they have this and they'll do something about it, but they need to come out and not just let this continue on, because it has gone past this. There are these Tesla takedown protests that aim to destroy Tesla in order to attack Musk. They were organized by, it looks like in this one, Alex Winter. He was the guy from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And it's, exhorts the public to sell their Teslas, dump their stock, show up at Tesla lots to stop Musk now. Again, this is fine if they want to do something like this. But, they really have tied Elon to like they want to hurt Elon, and hurting Elon to hurt Tesla. And that is, that's, again, I don't think you can debate that. Elon is Tesla, Tesla's Elon, but it's just, what's happened. Elon said this, though, an investigation has found 5 ActBlue-funded groups responsible for Tesla protests. So while we think this is like a grounds up, public protesting, it's very likely funded and organized. Troublemakers, disruption protests, rise and resist individual and democratic socialists of America. So you got George Soros, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, Patricia Baumann. This is the ActBlue funders. And so they're under investigation. So maybe if this is true, then at least there's some sort of
well, they're under investigation for these other violations. So there's fundamental truths here. There's a website. The website is universal. Anybody on earth can go to. There's now an organized website where it shows you where to protest, how to make signs, what slogans to put on the signs. There's media behind some of this content too. I posted it. So that's not a question anymore. Is this organized or is it organic? That question has now been answered. Now the question needs to be answered is are these protests tied to political activities, which it appears they are, and now are they impacting? Are there crimes against people, and are there crimes against companies connected to political action? And I think let's let the legal process work and play out. But there's no question that this is organized now because it's out there. There's a question of now is, kind of where we go from here. I think people, by the way, if you're an advocate of the brand, if Tesla's, helped you in terms of, your driving experience over the last several years, it's helped, from a safety perspective, you enjoy the products, you like them, you can drop by your service center and, bring them donuts or bring them something to eat or just pass along words of encouragement. I think that's helpful that you appreciate them because all these, a lot of these stores, everybody's just working like professionals, trying to get people in and sell product and do the right thing. They should not be at fault. They should not be at risk of being harmed, and they should hear it as well. The positive things from, for people that are happy with their products and happy with what Tesla does. Again, I find that I find the greater good of all this is far outweighs everything. This noise that's happening now. Tesla, they're making vehicles that if you're in an accident, you have the greatest amount of protection in that cage, the highest rating that NHTSA provides in terms of crash ratings or IHTCA. So you're from a safety perspective, and now they're making software that makes vehicles less likely to be in a collision and getting to superhuman levels here soon. So they're doing things for products and people that literally save lives. And that's way, way more important. And again, I have no problem if people want to protest or disagree with particular things being cut in funding and so forth relating to what Elon's doing. That's fine. But if you look at what the company is doing and you look at what they're doing for the greater good, both environment, for safety, and quite frankly, for geopolitical, in terms of actually having a competitive and leading auto industry company that employs tens of thousands of people in the United States. So when you're doing that, you're harming all those employees, you're harming all those innocent people. And really, Elon and Tesla were celebrated by the same group of people just 18 months ago. So the fact that it could just flip on a dime, everything kind of just points to kind of political radicalization. And so we have to move past this point. But I also believe addressing it very overtly is actually appropriate.
So Tesla stock investors, we're watching the stock fall. Certainly it's associated with this events that are happening now. But as an investor, you got to look at this thing and go, okay, you're going to see maybe some sales of cars going down. Is this a brand damage? Is it long-term? Is it permanent? Is it just going to go away? But what's important for us is to look at the fundamentals. Is this company continue to grow? Is it going to continue to have the two big things, right? Robotaxi and robots. And that's what you need to think about and focus on. So let's now talk about the things that did happen this weekend that are positive for Tesla. You've got the official delivery event did happen this weekend for both Germany and the US. So in China, they completed that delivery event on February 26th. And then March 7th and 8th, we had one happen in Germany. And
I think it's really important for people to see those dates. Those dates are when those sites in those regions achieved inventory levels to meet Tesla's typical Model Y lead time. So when Tesla decides to do a handover event, notice these dates are not they're not scheduled many weeks in advance. In fact, they're for probably less than 2 weeks in advance. And Tesla has certainty of their production schedule. Though they could have had these handover events in China a month earlier. I mean, just after Chinese New Year, they could have had it basically. They could have had it in Germany a month earlier. They could have had it in the US a month earlier. There were new Model Ys ready to get the handover to customers. But these handover events are less, there is some symbolism of launching the new vehicle, but they schedule the handover events because they want the media attention, the media impressions. They want it hitting. They want people going online looking for this stuff when they actually have the product in inventory to sell. There's no use having the handover event, shaking hands, getting everybody excited, and then you go into the system and it says, if you went into the system a month ago, it'd be double the lead times or more. Who knows? It's a little bit predictable in the beginning of a ramp. So I'm just telling you how this works from being inside of consumer product companies before. When you're doing a refresh of a product, and especially if it's your number one seller, you want your inventory levels up at a level where you can actually do the handover and launch it.
Oh, very good point. That's good to know. It's not just an event. This is like actual processes and operations are going along, moving nicely. And
by the way, we don't have to wait till Q2, Herbert. We'll get confirmation of that over the next couple of weeks when we see the China insurance numbers and we see the new Model Y registrations. We'll start getting some confirmation, but most of the confirmation of what I'll be saying is when this supply starts landing at its final destination point. So probably, in the early part of Q2.
Yep, gotcha. Yeah. And then, but like you said, though, this is great news, right? So now we'll start seeing the numbers going back up again because of the handover. Now they've got enough cars, or hopefully, still going up there, but getting closer. You had Franz there. I'm sorry. Yeah, Franz, right?
Yeah,
I was going to call him Hans. Franz, yeah. And
so
then,
there are people doing that, by the way. That's an SNL thing.
They were all there. First, Franz, Franz and Hans and Franz. First of the new Model Y design delivered from our U.S. factory. So Elon did reply, and he did talk about Tesla. You like this post that last year, 225,000 used Teslas were purchased in the U.S., and that was up from 140,000 year before. So this idea that people aren't buying Teslas or something like that, it's not showing up. It still is a growth, right? What was your comment here?
No, I mean, I was looking, I'm trying to find relative other used car information, but it says a couple of things. One is there's, those used cars are selling at lower price points. So it tells you that there is a price sensitivity issue that's still out there. Again, there's multiple reasons that demand can go in one direction or another. It's clear, like this, by the way, this can be a very thoughtful, multi-point discussion. You don't have to, just like politics, like you don't have to be hyperbolic on one area, one way or the other. There are typically multiple reasons for demand issues, but this tells you, I was trying to look for again other relative data points, but tells you that there still is some price sensitivity, but there's definite. I mean, that's a big number in terms of sales of the product. And same thing now for Q1, people. That's why I wanted you to stay on those dates for the handover event, because this is now when they're starting to sell the new Model Y. The Model Y ran at 28 to 29,000 units a week. The CFO, said in the earnings call, it's in the transcript, that we're going to, it's going to be several weeks of transition of this new product. So if someone were to ask me, when we see the final numbers for Q1, what portion of this is, supply related to this transition of the new Model Y, and what percent of it is demand, or what percent of it is brand damage. I mean, I'm still going to be in the camp of it's going to be 90% of it, of any kind of typical supply demand fall off is going to be related to supply and related to changing over your new product. They've essentially, they'll actually tell us the number of cumulative weeks they were down, but they said several in the earnings call transcript. So several is not 2 weeks. So just start doing the math. What you do is you take the peak week of supply, or of the product, which is 29K a week, and you just say, how many weeks are they down for? They're down for 3 weeks. That's 87K. You said several weeks, so that could be 4 or 5. So you could easily be over 100K in terms of supply impact. So when people ask me, well, what's going on? You see these numbers out of Europe. You see these numbers out of here. I mean, even China, you see the China numbers where they're not, looking at any of this. And again, there's literally almost very few, if not any, Model Ys available for sale because they're changed over. So I think it's just important to just continue to, like, there's a physics and like rational answer to portions of these things, and the other parts of it, I mean, I'm sure there's some number greater than zero in terms of brand impact. There's some number greater than zero of competitive products being available. The question is what do you attribute it to? What level of attribution do you give to each one? I think is the proper question. And in terms of this Model Y changeover, it's very significant.
Yeah. You love that you keep reminding everybody that there's nuanced answer to things, and you'd have to consider everything, not just jump to one assumption.
Oh, Herbert, I mean, we'll know a lot in Q2. And remember, we were having this exact same discussion with the Red Sea attacks in February of last year. We had the Model 3 changeover, and we put the exact number of what we thought the supply shortfall, and it literally hit the Q1 numbers that way, and it all was made up, and they ended up exceeding Q2. But the same doubts are coming out. Is like, is there a demand scare? Is there something going on here?
In the meantime, let's focus on that. Though you got these new cars coming out, then you've got the most important thing, right? You've got a couple of things here. You've got Cybercab being seen, driven around, as we've been saying that's already happening. It's something we've seen already, but Ashok Alaswamy replied to this as well, saying that the future is golden and bright. This is Tesla North America. You've got John from Tesla Ono Silicon Valley at the Tesla Fremont factory. And again, watching all of these Teslas driving themselves from the production line to the shipping yard. Ashok said that thousands of Teslas drive themselves each week to the loading docks. And then you've got a bunch of videos that are coming out of China, just continuing to show how great Tesla's FSD is. You've got this one here. I'll show it as we're talking about this FSD on an unregulated rural road. The driver believes it has an expert level skills. This is played at 2 times speed here. Let's watch that one. And so this is unbelievable. It's everybody's pretty impressed with this at this point. And then you've got Ashok Alaswamy, Vice President of Autonomy, saying shows the scalability of Tesla's generalized solution to autonomy. No HD maps, no sensor overload, just looks outside and drives like humans. Yeah, you had a reply to this.
Yeah, and to me, this adaptation timing is a bit stunning. So I expected them to be able to, this is fundamental in terms of how the system is designed. I expected them to be able to go to different countries and get up pretty quickly. I did not think it would be this quickly. If you see some of these countries being lit up with capability and it's performing very well, this is basically saying like all these miles informed the foundation model that FSD is built off of. And it's extremely robust. So there needs to be less and less localization of local miles in each of these companies to necessarily get this thing up and have it be production worthy. Obviously, of the data issues that they're having in China, it is showing that. So it just this time from going from the United States and under development for years, and now just being able to go to these major countries quickly, boom, boom, be dropped onto the road, and for it to start working is extremely powerful fundamentally. I mean, I don't have to explain. I mean, it's extremely powerful in terms of how quickly they're able to do this, and this means so as Tesla now has greater model scaling, all these new releases that are coming out in the US and their adaptation to other countries is also going to go very quickly. Just they're going to continue to build on the strength of that model. And it means a lot in terms of revenue acceleration for FSD in global deployment.
Yeah, these videos are going viral in China, and they're all, many of them are actually very good. There are videos of the cars not being able to understand a bus lane. These things are happening. I'm not saying it's perfect, but the general sense is that it's been well received. Here's one that went viral in Douyin, which is their app there. Tesla FSD perceives, judges, controls, and executes when encountering 3 large trucks in a narrow alleyway. Let's watch that one. Where's it now? Here we go. There's one truck. It stops, lets these guys in. Yeah, and then the third one, and then it goes, oh! See that? It knew it was coming, so it paused. Isn't that great? Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on here. So not only is it going to be geographically able to adapt pretty quickly, but there's a lot of people posting videos in rain and other conditions that it's driving very well in rain. And I posted a little bit about driving in snow. It's not perfect, right? But it's drivable. It works. But if you study the other robotaxi companies, I don't see a single market launch in any cold weather cities. And when I did some research online, is there a solution for these LiDAR based, HD mapped companies that are doing this conventional route? And basically all the answers was well, everybody's testing. And it's 2025, and these things have been under development for 5 to 10 years. And the answer is they're testing. It seems like a computer vision based system will be able to learn and adapt. And if we have this quick geographical adaptation into different countries and different ways of driving, different signage and so forth, if there's this rapid of an adaptation of the foundation model, my guess is it'll be able to do this in weather conditions as well. So that's exciting because if you look at the math, and I don't know why people don't talk about this, a lot of people live a lot of days with snow on the ground. And so if we're very serious about a robotaxi future, and there's going to be, everybody says it's going to be multiple companies, which I'm one of those people. I don't think it's going to be, all Tesla all day, but it's not clear to me what their solution is. And there's about 130 days a year that the US has snow on the ground at about 35 to 45% of the land area. And that peaks up on a couple of days to 70% of the land area. So this is just the US. Obviously Europe would be, in parts of Europe would be in a similar situation as well, in parts of China as well. So driving on snow there has to be an end game there, because you can't just you can't take all the cars off the road and say everything's a robotaxi future. And then, oh, by the way, it's snowing. Nobody can, there's no service. You have to have a solution. And it's just not clear to me. It's clear to me what Tesla's doing, and it's clear to me that there's a convergence happening. I'm not saying it's ready today, but it's not clear to me what the others are doing and if there's actual path and convergence.
Yeah, not just that, but lots of other things like I'll show you a couple of videos here of hand signals. Can FSD recognize hand signals? Well, can LiDAR recognize it, or can they do it? There's actually quite a number of videos now, because it's being tested, FSD in China. They can go head to head with Huawei, with Baidu. They can compare them. And again, the general consensus is FSD is much, much better. Here's an example of FSD recognizing the traffic officer's hand signals, hard to know yet if this is all true, but this is one example of it. Turn off the music here. Maybe I'll put it on a little bit. Yeah. So the officer says stop, right? Just like normal, waves it off, and the car stops. I don't know. I started moving. Oh, then he goes like stop. Okay. Okay. It would be great if we had actually seen what it actually did.
Well, I've experienced this too, where you have a hand signal and the car stops, and I've had it respond to the little hand sign for stop, and then literally right when they spin it around, the car and they wave, the car goes forward. I don't know how repeatable that is. I'd rather have Tesla comment on that, but they clearly need to solve for that, just like they're solving for emergency vehicles. They need to solve for any type of vehicle that you should stop for. So to me, these are the edge cases that they're gonna nail.
Okay.
There's no reason why they would have gotten all this logic right in terms of their approach, and then not be able to do some of these other more basic things. There is work needed, though. Yeah.
I mean, pedestrian intent was something that Tesla's been talking about for a long time. And just, again, how do you do that? Lots of videos of pedestrians and then trying to predict what that pedestrian might be doing. These things you can't do with just LiDAR. You need neural nets and video data. So this is what we're finding out right now.
Yep. So
basically what we just covered today, right? There's lots of protests going on. Violence, stock is falling significantly. There's this FUD about how much Tesla volume of sales have gone down. How much of it is really related to demand softening of these protests? How much of it is just because of the flip over between the new Model Y and the old Model Y? And then you've explained that so well. In the meantime, you're watching these videos dropped in FSD. You're getting these factories delivering the new Model Ys now. So, Tom Lee, one of the most respected people out there talking about Tesla stock, and he's basically saying, right, that what is he saying? He's saying that not like so the Tesla's fallen, but it's actually the fundamentals is strengthening, is what he's saying.
You know what? I think Tesla and NVIDIA, they've been hit the hardest. Do I think that their future trajectory is worse? I actually think that they still look like great companies, and it's not like in Tesla's case, it's not like their competitive position has worsened. It's probably strengthening.
Tesla's competitive position relative to other EV companies.
Yeah, and their leadership. And let's say that there's, like, if you ask a technologist, what's the next big thing? It's going to say robots. Tesla's, country mile ahead of a lot of people on robots.
Okay.
So it's not like being down 35% has changed their competitive position.
If you
Yeah, that's what we were just saying earlier, right? You got to look at these things. There's noise. Some of that noise is true. I'm not saying it is 100% not true, but you got to look at the big picture. And FSD robots, that's what's going to change the world. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good wrap up. I think number one, there's no place for violence. There's no place for vandalism, and these should be addressed, in my opinion, in a very aggressive manner. And I think we don't know what Tesla's doing in the background, but they probably are. But it goes without saying, employees, customers, and their property need to be properly protected, and the punitive damages as a result of inflicting these crimes should be extremely severe, in my opinion. Now, in terms of, we don't know how long this is actually going to last. I think we should, this is just my opinion. I think some of these things, we tend to think like if it's a comment on X or so forth, it could blow over. It's not clear, but what would provide clarity is if there was very strict action against those inflicting these crimes. It may deter future crimes, and it may deter people feeling that it's okay to go up to your car and start banging on it to try to break the glass. That's just completely inappropriate of people. But you have to separate these two things. None of this changes, as Tom Lee said, none of this changes the actual competitive position unless you believe you're a brand expert and you can forecast what is going to happen to a brand over many years of time, because you actually don't. That's a very difficult thing to do. In fact, people are struggling this quarter to try to assess it. There are so many conflicting polls. There's even conflicting delivery information. You have UK up 20%. And what I will tell people is that you're going to see conflicting information like this when you do this big of a changeover in your product. You're going to have pockets of inventory, and then you see all these hyperbolic things happening in the media. You're just going to have people jumping from one thing to the next. You have provocateurs out there. So you have to assess signal and you have to assess noise, and you don't assign noise a zero value, because some of this noise is obviously impacting the sentiment and how people feel about the company, or how people feel about their position with the company, or how people feel about their product. So you don't assign it a zero, but you still have to assign a very high value to signal. And signal is making the best EVs on earth properly, the most safest and best EVs on earth profitably, getting to autonomy through their physical real world AI, both in vehicles and in bots. And honestly, having the only real mass production proven capability to take an AI brain and a robot either on wheels or on legs and be able to make both of those things together profitably, there is literally nobody else that's actually demonstrated that. So I think once you understand that that's the signal, and you understand the company and the CEO, their intentions are for the greater good of this country, regardless, how you voted, and they're trying to make the safest and best products on earth and trying to drive a sustainable future. I think that signal should eventually start drowning out this noise.
A quick question to you, Jeff. Do you think that the brand damage, let's assume it's permanent, not permanent, but like long term, okay? Is it going to impact robotaxi? Is it going to impact robots? I can't see how it impacts robots until they go to, robots in a home, but they don't, it's going to be such a massive, big, giant market anyways to businesses. But do you think it'll impact robotaxi?
Well, we have to get ahead of this thing where people feel like they can vandalize private property in the name of politics, and that needs to be addressed. It needs to be severe. It needs to be public. And I think if we get ahead of this quickly, you'll have less impact of that happening. Because right now we already see even other robotaxi vehicles from other companies. Yeah. There are people that are either drunk or disorderly or just have mental issues, and they're pounding on these things and they're trying to do things to kind of spoof them. So Tesla definitely needs to get ahead of these things. I think with this robotaxi rollout, they can be super careful in terms of doing a very informed, and I'm sure they're already ahead of this, but kind of a very controlled external user trial of robotaxi in Austin, and then start spreading it out and fanning it out to real customers in a very careful way. And if you heard the way they spoke about it on the earnings call, they are going to be very careful. I think Tesla's very good at these, actually, at these rollouts. But in terms of now we're talking about this security element.
Yeah.
And I think that is key. And by the way, they have in terms of like cyber, I think they have really amazing people that are thinking through these things in terms of making literally an unhackable product and offering. So I feel good about
video
that.
Cameras. Yeah, they all have video cameras. So I think what's good about so far is that at least Elon is aware that these things are happening. He's replying to these. So now, is he going to say step up, or what's the company going to do? What's their response? That's what you were saying today. And I appreciate the message you've been giving. You also have made some posts on your X account explaining what you think Tesla needs to do. People should really follow you and check that out. Go to his X account at the Jeff Lutz.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
And like I said, people should make their own informed decisions about what they do with their products. We're not telling you what to do. People need to make their own decisions. But I think what we can do is separate signal and noise, discuss the fundamentals of the business, discuss the risks, and then people can decide.
Thank you, Jeff. See everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.